All right. Thank you guys all for coming out today. Hopefully you guys learned something today and to help avoid this type of thing that's happening. My name's Nick Pauley. I've been with the police department for a little over 13 years now. This is my second year doing the elderly service officer. It's something that they tend to rotate every 3 to 5 years, just depending on promotions and whatnot and what happens. So this is my second year doing this. Some of the things that we do, I'll go over real briefly, just kind of what I do, and then we'll get into the heart of the scam stuff. I want to go ahead and switch. Computer issues. Just go.
This right here that I should be pushing?
Yeah, you should just, if you go just right on there, just leave it on there and then just click.
Like that?
Yeah. I think you can just, or should just be, if you just keep it on the center and just one click.
Okay.
Maybe. There we go.
Okay.
All right. All right, so what I do on a day-to-day basis is this type of stuff. Handle crimes against the elderly. You know, whenever a crime affects an elderly person, because it's an elderly person, not just generally, hey, my car got broken into or something that could happen to anybody. I tend to work on crimes that are directly targeted against the elderly, like the financial crimes, whether that be financial exploitation by somebody that lives with them, a family member, or somebody from the outside, physical, you know, battery against elderly people, things like that, or neglect, where somebody's supposed to be taking care of you and isn't doing that job. Quality of life issues we work with, like just doing welfare checks on senior citizens. If you call and say, hey, I haven't seen my friend for a couple of days, I'm worried about them, or I'm worried about if they're being taken care of. I handle stuff like that. Referrals to assistant programs, mainly alternatives. It used to be called alternatives for the older adult. Now they just go by alternatives. That's who we work with almost exclusively to help seniors out with myriad different issues, you know, whether just house cleaning, getting to and from places, working with programs to just get out of the house, things like that. Inspections issues where, like, we deal with hoarding and things like that, or somebody gets, you know, to a point where they can't take care of the house, and we work with inspections to try and get those things in order so they can stay at home. And then education, the scam prevention, why I'm here today. So let's get into that. All right, so scams and you. 1 in 5 individuals right now approximately is over the age of 60 years old. So it's a huge demographic in our country. There's so many seniors out there. Okay, 1 in 20 older persons indicate recent financial mistreatment of some sort, and that's just what's reported. Okay, so 1 in 20 people, so probably somebody in here, and certainly here at the facility I've dealt with people that have had this stuff happen to them. You know, it's happening every day, all the time. You've probably all gotten calls or mail or something that's a scam. I guarantee. If you have a phone, you've received a scam phone call. Only 1 in 44 elder financial abuse cases is ever reported to law enforcement. Why? Because it's embarrassing if you fall victim to this, or it's a family member or a friend or a caretaker that does these things, so people don't like to report them. And that's unfortunate, because if only 1 in 44 even gets reported to us, you can imagine how few actually end up being prosecuted. 9% of financial abuse victims must turn to Medicaid after their own funds are stolen. That means that they've basically been wiped out. And this could be a family member. The most recent one that I dealt with was a family member. Completely wiped them out. You know, a grandson to a grandmother. Took everything they had. They didn't realize until all of a sudden their bills weren't getting paid, and they had to switch to Medicaid. Go ahead. So why are you guys one of the biggest targets? There's fears, you know, the fears of the senior that if I don't do what this person is telling me to do, something bad is going to happen to me. That is probably their #1 target point, whether we're going to take away your house, you owe money to us, something bad's going to happen to you. So the fears, the frailties of aging, when you deal with people where sometimes their cognitive ability is starting to slip, they don't remember things so well, it's much easier to target that group. your dependence on others when you have somebody else that's helping you pay the bills and things like that, and then it's a lot easier for them to take over your money. That's like the family member and stuff like that, or the caretaker that's taking over your bills. You're dependent on them, and a lot of times you don't know until it's too late. And then isolation. Too many times seniors, and this is a good environment, but a lot of times you have seniors at home and stuff that still live by themselves that end up without many family members or anyone to help them out. So they're isolated. I just dealt with a man 2 days ago who lives by himself. He's got family that helps him out a little bit, but he still pays his bills and stuff and whatnot, and he fell victim to a lottery scam. Well, the guy had enough of his information that he actually called AT&T and switched his phone number so nobody else could get a hold of him, completely isolating him, from getting a hold of his family or his family getting a hold of him and whatnot. So that's what they'll try and do. Okay, so who's doing this? We kind of talked about over the phone and the mail and stuff. It's just strangers. They don't know you. They don't know anybody. Many times they're out of the country, right? Or it could be when you're talking about like home repair fraud and stuff like that. These people are just going door to door, either locally or they just come into an area. Like when we have a major storm, you come in and, hey, we're going to clean up all your trees that fell and stuff like that. Or it could be a family member. Like we talked about somebody who is living with you, is just a caretaker, somebody who's helping you with finances. Those are the ones who are, a lot of times we end up with the financial exploitation from a family member who wants that money. Or other caregivers. It could be someone who, is just an employee that comes in and works for an agency that's going to help you out, in the house or whatnot. Any type of caregiver like that. And unfortunately, the seniors don't want to get a lot of these people in trouble. We get a lot of call about the strangers. We don't get very many calls about family members and caregivers because we don't like to tell on those people, unfortunately, and that helps them get away with it way too many times. Okay, so the top 10 scams targeting seniors in no particular order. Healthcare, Medicare, health insurance. This is huge, and one of the big things about these is they target your health care, your Medicare, your health insurance, because a lot of times you don't see so much of that stuff out of pocket. It's very easy to target somebody's, especially the Medicare, where they say, hey, we're going to give you this service, this service, this service, or we'll bill you for these services, and you don't realize exactly what you're getting billed for because, to be honest, who can read all these bills that you get from the hospital or the explanation of benefits and stuff? They're very difficult to go through, so they can bill you for stuff that doesn't happen. Counterfeit prescription drugs. So I always recommend go through your whatever your doctor recommends or whatnot, your Walgreens, your CVS, their mail-in stuff, because you get calls that say, hey, we'll lower your prices on your drugs. Well, you're getting stuff that's not real and not working a lot of times if you don't go through a trustworthy agency. Funeral and cemetery scams. This is a lot of stuff that happens over the phone again, where they're going to call you and say, do you have this set up? Well, no, I don't. Oh, and it sounds great. We're going to get you set up here at whatever cemetery, funeral home you want. We'll get it set up. You just pay this and we'll get it all ready to go for you. But they have no affiliation with those agencies at all. They're just taking your money, and then when time comes, you think you've got this ready, and it's not, Fraudulent anti-aging products. Unfortunately, there is no fountain of youth, but they will call and try and sell this stuff over TV, and again over the phone or internet, and most of it is absolute junk. If your doctor wouldn't recommend it to you, then stay away from it. Telemarketing, which is probably the broadest one that we deal with. Probably 90% of the calls I get are stuff that happens via telemarketing, and we'll go into a couple others down the list, but one couple that I wanted to cover for sure are IRS is a huge one. They call you, say, I'm from the IRS, you owe us money. You need to pay it right now or we're going to come and get you. Okay? They might even go on Google Earth, okay, and they'll get a picture of where you live, Okay, they could get a picture right here, Friendship Manor, right on Google Earth, or a house or whatnot, and say, there's officers waiting down the house. I see you live at the Friendship Manor housing complex. They're outside right now waiting to come and arrest you if you don't send this money to us. Well, that can be pretty terrifying for some people, right? And they pay, okay? My rule of thumb for everybody, not just seniors, for me, is if they call me, it's a scam. Period. End of discussion. If they call me, it's a scam. If I think that it might be legitimate, I'm going to hang up the phone and I'm going to go back and look up that company, talk to somebody, whatever I need to do, and I can call them. There's nothing in the world that they can offer me that I can't still get if I call them back after verifying that it's a legitimate company. Okay? And with the IRS and things like that, the IRS doesn't make phone calls to anybody. They send you a letter. They'll send you 1,000 letters. They'll send you certified mail and all this. They don't call you. You're not going to get a call from the IRS. You're not going to get a call from the FBI saying that you owe money for a warrant or something like that. They just don't call. Okay? None of these things that you're getting over the phone, none of these calls are going to be legitimate for things like that. When you get calls for charity, some of those could be valid, but I wouldn't trust it. I've gotten calls numerous times for police-related charities, and every time I'll ask them, so how is this money distributed? Who's it going to? Oh, it's going to the police departments to help with this or that. Are you sure? Because I don't remember us ever getting any funds from this agency. I've never heard of it before. So, and especially with charities, that's something you can easily research and look up online or whatnot, or talk to somebody here, or call me, and we can say, that's a legitimate charity. If St. Jude calls you, well, that might be a wonderful, wonderful charity. I'd sure like to, send them some money. Let me look it up. Let me look up their number and make sure that this is legitimate, and I can call them back and I can make a donation, right? Doesn't take hardly any more time, but then you know for sure that your money's going where it's supposed to go. Go ahead. Internet fraud. The big thing with the email, the phishing scams where they send you an email and it looks very, very legitimate. It could be an email from your bank. It could be from a friend or family member that says, click on this link, whatever. Okay, what'll happen when you click on like a family member's link, it downloads a virus onto your computer, and it may completely take over your computer. It's called ransomware. Okay, and they take over your computer, and a little box will pop up that says, to unlock your files, pay so much money, enter your credit card information. If you don't do it within 3 hours, 20 minutes, whatever, everything will be deleted. Okay, and they can do it. They have access to your computer through that link that you clicked on. Okay, so just be very, very cognizant of when somebody sends you something. I've gotten a few from my mom, and she's had to reset hers where it says, looks like something you'd be interested in, click the link. Don't do it, okay? If you get something like that and it's not specifically saying what it is, call that person and say, did you send me something? Chances are they're going to say no. Okay? So just be very, very careful with that type of stuff over the internet, and especially through email is how 99.9% of that stuff happens. And you'll also get the emails, hey, I'm a Nigerian prince, you've won $84 million, whatnot. Investment schemes, that's another thing's targeting, when seniors and they have, a big bank account sitting there, well, hey, let's grow that through these investments and work on this, sounds great. Well, it's all a scam. That's another thing, especially stuff like that. Step back and research it, talk to your financial advisors, anything that's in any investment related, talk to the place where your money is held, your bank, your investment people, because they're going to be able to help you walk through that and tell you if it's a good idea or a bad idea, or at least in general, or tell you if it's a legitimate company. The homeowner reverse mortgage stuff, I don't personally know a ton about reverse mortgages. I haven't dealt with it a lot here. But what I have learned is everything's pretty well negative for the reverse mortgage stuff. So if you ever get calls or letters and stuff like that, what I would do is, again, talk to your financial advisor, your bank, people here, call me and find out first if it's a legitimate company. If it is a legitimate company and you think that that's something that, would work out great for you, then that's something you can, look up and work on. But anything like that, and again, going into investment stuff, is nothing that you ever have to do right now. And that's what you're going to get pressure from these people, is you have to do it right now, right now, right now. Okay? If they put pressure on you to do it right now, then there's a reason for that. They're trying to get you to do it before you can talk to somebody. Okay? So step back. Sweepstakes and lottery. For whatever reason, that seems to be one of the biggest ones that we deal with. We've dealt with just the one I was telling you about where they changed his phone number. Called and told me won a brand new Mercedes and $3.5 million. And he bought it, and it sounds funny, but you'll be amazed at the amount of people that fall for it. Remember, if I get one call on it, then that means I've probably gotten 44 people who don't call that it's happened to, right? So, it's easy to think that, how you would never fall for this, but a lot of people do fall for that, and especially the lottery one. Again, he sent $9,500, told him to take it out in 2 payments. He sent $4,000 to an address in Florida, and then turned around. They said, we need $5,500 more. And he sent that to an address in Florida. And they said, you need to take it out in cash. You need to put it in between the pages of a magazine, $100 bills. Put that into the mail and ship it overnight to us. And where they ship these, almost exclusively, it's like a mail drop box or an abandoned house, and then they go pick it up with a fake ID later. This one they happened to ship to an actual house in Florida. And again, this just happened on Thursday. And I called the agency down in Florida. They went to the house, and lo and behold, the package was right there on the front step. And now we're going to be working with the postal police and stuff to follow up on that, and hopefully, we end up making a good arrest out of it. But that's the only time that's ever happened. I couldn't believe it. The people down in Florida couldn't believe it, because it doesn't happen. That money's gone once you send it off. So that'll probably be a once-in-a-career thing. That'll probably never happen again. So understand that when they fall for these scams, and this $10,000, it's gone. You're not going to get it back. The credit card company or the bank isn't going to cover you for it because it's taken out in cash. If somebody makes a fraudulent transaction on your credit card, a lot of times they'll cover that, or they should always cover that. But if you take out that cash willingly, it's gone. That money is gone. So sweepstakes lottery people won't call you. And if somehow you do happen to win the lottery, anything that you might happen to have to pay, they can take out of your winnings. Never, ever, ever have to pay for anything like that. You won't have to pay taxes. You don't have to pay a fee, nothing like that. Never have to pay. And then the grandparents one. And this one is, we don't hear it quite as much, but the few times that I have had it, they are very, 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 very good. Okay? They may look up somebody, because they can take your phone number and they can look it up online. You can type it into a search engine and they can find out your name. They can find out your address, Then they can go on, if you happen to have Facebook or something, they can go on there and they can find out names of your family members. That's happened several times where we get the call, they called in the middle of the night and said, I'm in jail in Mexico. I need money. Yeah, grandma, it's so-and-so. And they'll tell you the name of one of your grandchildren. Legitimately say, this is John. I'm down in Mexico. I got arrested. And in the middle of the night, when you're on a bad phone connection, it's easy to fall for this. Say, hey, I need money, and they'll they'll talk to you. They'll put on somebody that's supposedly with the police to talk to you, tell you what you need to do. Oh, we need your credit card information. I can pay this over the phone. Give them your credit card information, the expiration date, and the little 3-digit code, and it'll get me out of jail down here. And do it, and all of a sudden, however much money is just gone. Plus, they have your credit card information now, which then they turn around and charge that until it's maxed out. So, like I said, it's easy to, kind of disregard these, but again, they happen all day, every day, especially the people that are calling on the phone. That's all they're doing all day long, is they're sitting there on a phone, dialing it to different numbers, different seniors, trying to get this money. So if they're doing it all day long, it's probably working enough that it's worthwhile for them. Okay, some tips for avoiding health insurance fraud. Never sign blank insurance forms unless it's all filled out and says what you're getting, what they're doing specifically. Don't sign it. Don't give blanket authorization to a medical provider to bill services rendered. Okay, don't say, whoever, Medicare, the doctor, the hospital, sign, go ahead and do whatever you need to do. Make sure they're telling you step by step exactly what they're doing, what they're billing you for. Ask your medical provider what they will charge and what you will be expected to pay out of pocket, so you know ahead of time. And the medical providers, a lot of them tend to be terrible at that. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll call your insurance, we'll charge your insurance. It'll probably be about this, pay, this amount, and then if there's extra, we'll send it back to you. There's never extra, right? It always turns out to be more. I'm getting my son braces right now, and it always keeps, the price always goes up, up, up from what they think it's going to be. And that's what happens with a lot of medical providers. Carefully review your explanation of benefit statement. Again, those are very hard to read. I know it's hard to tell because there's 37 pages in each one of them, and they're all tiny fine print, but go through and check and make sure nothing seems funny on those. And if there are, call your insurer and whatnot. Don't do business with door-to-door or telephone people, again, and especially when they tell you that your services or your medical equipment are going to be free, and that comes up again with the Medicare. I've had that where they call and they say, hey, are you interested in this brace? Medicare will probably pay for you. You see the commercials all the time on TV. You want this back, brace for back pain or knee pain. Well, what they do is they call and they get you agree to it, or they don't. They just make it up and say that you agreed to it, and they turn around and they take a medical brace that costs $70 or $80 that they buy from a distributor, and then that you can buy directly from that distributor, and they turn around and they bill Medicare $1,500, $2,000 for it. So that's pure profit, right? They're just raking in money, And again, I've had a lady that had this happen. She didn't even agree to it. They just called her, and I ended up on the phone with the company and everything, and they had admitted, well, we don't really have any record of it, but, and we did. And I called the distributor who sent it out, and they said, oh, yeah, you can get this brace. I think it was like $79 or something. And they were charging Medicare, the salespeople that called her were charging Medicare like $1,200 for this brace. And that's what they'll do. That's how they make that money. Give your insurance Medicare info only to those who provide you with medical service. I said, nobody else needs that information except for your doctor, your Medicare provider. Nobody else has any need for that information. Okay? Keep accurate records of all your health care appointments, and where that comes into play is if you get that explanation of benefits that says, oh, hey, we're going to go ahead and charge you, and your insurance is covering all of this that you went in for. Well, it turns out you never went in for that appointment, right? There was never an appointment there, but they're still billing you for something. And know if your physician ordered equipment for you. And that's, again, turns into the medical equipment stuff where they send you stuff and they're way over billing Medicare or your insurance provider for it. So know if your physician is going to send you something. If you get something that you didn't order, don't just keep it or throw it to the side, because guaranteed your insurance is getting billed for it, and then they could turn that around on you. Misuse of Medicare dollars is one of the largest scams involving seniors. Common schemes include billing for seniors for services never delivered and selling unneeded devices or services to beneficiaries, just like we talked about. They're going to give you that stuff, and Medicare is huge, right? It is so massive that there is no way in the world that they can avoid all these scams from happening. They just can't. There's too many people, too much paperwork, too much money that they can't keep track of all of it. There's no way. To prevent the Medicare scams, protect your Medicare number as you would your credit card number, because you don't need a whole lot of information to, get online and do these things. Like I said, with the one lady that I dealt with, she didn't give them anything, but they were able to get a hold of just her name and address and such, and probably were able to, they might be able to squeak her Medicare number out of her, and they sent her this without ever being agreed to. Again, be wary of salespeople trying to sell you something they claim will be paid for by Medicare. Every commercial you see for that, at little or no cost to you, right? They all say that. Every commercial you look at, it says at little or no cost to you, we'll get this to you. Well, believe me, it's costing. It's costing somebody, or it's going to cost you in the long run when they come back and say, hey, this was fraudulent or whatnot. Review your Medicare statements to make sure that you've received everything. Again, just like your regular insurance, if you have that. Make sure and review and that you're getting these services that are provided. We live in a little bit, smaller and better area, but especially in like big cities and stuff where these hospitals, are going through and they'll just add stuff on, add stuff on, add stuff on. That doesn't happen at all. They're just billing for things that don't happen because not enough people double check it. For the rare people that do, it was accidental. It wasn't accidental. They're trying to get more money for nothing. Report suspicious activities. Call 1-800-MEDICARE or contact your local Senior Medicare Patrol program. Tips for avoiding the telemarketer stuff. Don't buy anything from an unfamiliar company. If you don't know who they are, even if you're interested in the product, whatever they're selling, back away, take your time, look it up, and then go back if you decide that you want to buy it. Always ask for and wait until you receive written material about any offer or charity. If it's a scam, if it's a legitimate company, they'll usually be happy to send you something in writing that says, hey, this is what we're trying to sell you, this is what we do, so on and so forth. Of course, there are some scam companies that will do the same thing. But again, it gives you time. If they say, oh, no, we can't do that, you just need to do it now or you'll lose this offer, it's a scam. Get their name, their business identity, phone number, street address, mailing address, business license number. If they're a scam, they're not going to give you anything but probably a phone number or maybe an address to mail money to. All right? They don't have a business identity, anything like that. You can go in. Google has everything. If you're not sure, again, talk to us, talk to the people here. You can go on and Google any business. You can Google any street address and see it just about live, exactly what that address looks like. So just take your time and look this stuff up. You can't say it enough times. And again, always take your time in making a decision. Nothing that they do has to be done right now, ever. And if you do have information about a fraud, just report it. Again, so many times there's not a lot that we can do locally. They do federally. They end up making a lot of large arrests on these things. A lot of the call centers and stuff they bust in India, Jamaica, they've made huge arrests on these scam places. Locally, most of the time we can't do a lot because nothing is actually happening right here except you're getting scammed. We don't have the resources to go, out of the country or to another state to, investigate these things further. Federally, they usually do, and they do follow up on a lot of the stuff that they can when there's enough information. Work at home stuff I haven't seen a ton, but it is out there. The classified stuff or online postings or emails a lot of times, like a secret shopper. Hey, we're gonna, excuse me, we're gonna have you go into Walmart or whatever and be a secret shopper. We're gonna send you a check. It's gonna be a check for $5,000. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the bank and cash it. You're going to buy $500 worth of product, and then you're going to send us back, though, $4,000. Send it back to us. Keep the extra $500 for pay and whatever you bought, and then go online and fill out this survey. Well, by the time that you've done all that, turns out the check was fake. You've mailed off $4,000, and now the bank says, hey, you're $5,000 in the red because this check bounced. That's how they're gonna target you. They do this with several things, whether it be like through Craigslist, things like that, where somebody wants to buy something from you if you're selling online. That's the way they do that too. Hey, I can't come pick it up, but I'm going to send you a check. I'm going to send you enough extra to cover your time and expenses and enough to ship it too, but go ahead and ship me back the extra money. Okay, well, the check's bad. It bounces. Always verify if a company is legitimate, and you can check through Better Business Bureau. Better Business Bureau isn't perfect, but it's a very good, thing to go on and look on and see what's this company about. If it's got just pure negative ratings, it's probably a scam. Home repair and contractor fraud, something you guys won't face a lot here, but it is something that happens a lot. What I see around here a lot is, like I said, the tree trimming and stuff like that after big storms. Or you just get a bad contractor that does a little bit of work and doesn't complete, gets all the pay. Our state's attorneys generally, if you pay somebody $10,000 to come in and renovate your kitchen, if they come in and touch your cabinet, now it's a civil matter, right? State's attorney won't touch it now, even though they didn't do anything. Now, all your money's gone. So be informed and take time to call and shop around. Look for legitimate companies. Ask for other people that they've worked with, photos of their work, things like this. And if you're just not sure, then just don't deal with them. And they have to have licensed. Any legitimate contractor has to be licensed, bonded, insured, stuff like that, and they should show you all that. Okay? Anything that they want to do to your house, they have to go through all the process, go down to the city, get permits, things like that. If they're not doing that, then they could be out to scam you. Like I said, if you hire a bad contractor and they do a little bit of work for you, but they take the rest of your money, you're going to have to go to court and sue them. And the chances that you're going to get anything out of them are somewhere between slim and none. When you're dealing with this stuff, and this goes for anything, if you're doing a contract, carefully read all contracts before signing them. Everything is in writing, because if it's not in writing, then it didn't happen, right? Same, anything that you do. And make sure you understand all contract cancellation and refund terms. If you say, hey, the work isn't done by this date, you're going to pay me back all my money. Don't allow yourself to be pressured into any purchases, signing contracts, or committing funds. Pretty much any contractor that is legitimate, you pay when the work is done, all right? You don't have to pay them anything until that work is done. Some very few will have you pay up front for some materials and things like that, especially like roofers and things like that, but you shouldn't have to pay, you shouldn't be paying everything if this is a $10,000 job, you should be giving them $10,000 at the end. Or if you're paying for some materials, make sure you know exactly what, and make sure that those materials are coming to your house before you let anything else happen. Please. Thank you. And go ahead. Identity theft is also major. We get a lot of calls on that. Hey, somebody opened up a credit card in my name and they bought, spent all this money down in Texas. Or we had one the other day. Hey, somebody just bought a car, a $50,000 truck down in Texas using my information, right? It's very easy to get a hold of people's identity anymore. They sell giant lists of it over the internet, okay? The dark web that you hear about. Your information could very easily be out there. All these hacks where they say they got into the, your healthcare provider's information or the Facebook information, all this different stuff. Your identity, there's a good chance that the information is out there somewhere, and people can use that without your consent, your social security information, all that, and apply for loans, mortgages, accounts, all this type of stuff. There's medical identity theft, where somebody uses your personal information to get treatments, stuff like that. And that may be where you get something in the mail that says, hey, we're billing Medicare, your insurance provider, for this, something you never had because somebody stole your identity and is getting these treatments done. Common ways that this happens. Shoulder surfing, basically people looking over your shoulder to get your information, your PIN number. And while we've got the ATM and the PIN number up here, something that's not in here is when you go to like a gas station, an ATM, and you use your card, your debit card, and you put in your PIN number, well, people put a little device on the outside of that scans your card. Takes an exact copy of your card, and then they put a little camera on there that sees your PIN number. And now they have that information. They take a blank card, swipe it through their little machine, and they now have your ATM card. An exact copy of your ATM card with the PIN number. They do that at gas stations, ATMs, things like that. So when you go to a gas station or ATM, one thing I do every single time, before I put my card in there, I grab the little slot where you put your card into, and I tug it a little bit. See if it's loose or pops off. If it does, then they put this thing called a skimmer on there. You cannot tell just from looking at it generally that it's on there. But they're very, very easy to take off because it's something they need to be able to grab very quickly. So every single time I go to an ATM or do a gas station, I pull on that little card slot to make sure that it's not going to come off in my hand, because they have happened around here numerous times. I guarantee you there's ATMs and card slots out here right now in Rock Island that have it on there. Promise you, it's something out there right now. Dumpster diving. People get all your stuff out of a dumpster. When you leave your credit card information, you get your credit card statement, you just throw it away in the garbage, right? People go through, you put your garbage out to the curb or whatnot, people go through, grab your garbage bag. Guess what? It's perfectly legal. They can walk through and grab your garbage bag out of your garbage can once you put it out to the curb. So shred all that stuff. And phishing, like we talked about with the email stuff. Looks legitimate, but it's not. Never update, verify information on things like that. Like I said, you'll get banking ones where, hey, we need to update your information, or hey, we think you might have been victim to a scam. Somebody tried to use your credit card. Click on this to verify your information and we'll update it. Never, ever, ever. Your banking companies and stuff will never send you emails like that, okay? They'll never tell you that, hey, you need to enter your card information or stuff like that. Always, 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 if you get something like that, pull out your card, call the number on the back. They'll tell you, okay, if there's been some sort of a scam or something with your phone number. Always, always, always on your credit cards and your bank stuff. Pull out your card, call the number on the, never do anything online like that. Now, if you go to their website, your actual banking website, I do all my banking online, through IH Mississippi Valley. Go to their website and check that everything's okay, but never, if you get an email or something asking you to put in your information, never, ever, ever, ever. The paper shredder. Invest in and use it. Just shred that stuff, okay? Anything that's got account numbers, personal information, and things like that. Check your bank and credit card statements. Make sure that everything is right. That's how a lot of these ones happen, where somebody, like a family member or something, is accessing your account and you don't know until it's too late because you're not checking your statements. Okay, always check those bank and credit card statements and make sure that nothing is showing up on there that's illegitimate. And that definitely falls to, everybody. Okay, you don't have to be a typical victim. You can be fully aware of all the scams that are happening. Somebody can still get a hold of your credit card information, and if you're not monitoring that to look at, hey, this charge is not something I did, then it can be happening. And again, before you realize it could be thousands and thousands of dollars. Banks will usually cover for that stuff when that happens, but If you're just sitting there paying your credit card bill, and not paying attention to it, then you could be out some money. And again, the phishing stuff. Beware of the telephone scams. Never, ever give out your personal information over the phone with someone who initiates contact with you. If they call you, don't give them any information, anything. Any legitimate telemarketer that's calling, or like from a bank or something, won't ask for it anyway. But never give out anything, because you don't really know where it's going if they call you. Be careful with your mail. Don't let it sit in your mailbox. And when sending out something that's real sensitive, just consider dropping it off at a secure collection point. You guys don't have to worry about that so much here, but if you're at your house and you're letting mail sit, for a couple days, or you're sending out important stuff, package theft is huge too, where people get packages from Amazon or FedEx or whatnot. People just drive around and just pick those up, right, if they're sitting outside of your door. If you suspect that this has happened to you, if you get fraudulent charges, anything like that, very first thing you do is call your banks and credit card companies before you call us, before you call anybody, before you call your family member to say, hey, this might be weird. Call your banks and credit cards and tell them, hey, something is not right, so they can freeze that stuff immediately. It's easy to call them back and get it unfreezed, right? But call them immediately. File a report with us. We may not be able to do a whole lot on the actual fraud. Chances are that we'll never have any contact with whoever defrauded you. But a lot of the banks and credit card companies, you have to file a police report. They may even send you out an affidavit that we have to also sign that says you filed a police report to get the charges taken off. And then put out a fraud alert to the credit reporting agencies, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You can go online, you can get a free credit report every year from each one of those agencies, or you can call them and they have to send it to you. And you can check and make sure that there's nothing on your credit report, because that happens many times where somebody may be getting a line of credit in your name. They may even be paying the bill. They just needed a line of credit. So they're using grandma's information or grandpa's information or aunt or uncle. So you've got a line of credit in your name that you have no idea is out there. And you never find out unless you check your credit report. That's the only place that it shows up. Be aware that you're at risk, okay, from a stranger and from those closest to you. Just by being a senior, you're at risk for all these types of fraud, okay? Don't isolate yourself. Stay involved. Talk to people, not only for your health, but to avoid stuff like this. When you start to isolate yourself, generally bad things happen, okay? It's easier to fall victim to these things. Always tell solicitors, I never buy from or give to anyone who calls or visits me unannounced. Send me something in writing. And shred all your receipts with your credit card numbers. If you get any of those, when you go to the store or whatnot, shred that stuff so it's not easily available. You can sign up for the Do Not Call list. Take yourself off multiple mailing lists. The Do Not Call list, it gets a bad rap, but one of the things that it does do is legitimate companies have to abide by it. Otherwise, they get fined. So generally, they do. So when you do get on that list, the people that are calling you don't care about that list. And the people that don't care about that list are generally scammers. So always sign up for that. Use direct deposit when available. Don't go to the bank and take out a big wad of cash. It's never a good idea to carry around a ton of cash. Use direct deposit. It's so much safer. Never give your credit card, banking, Social Security, Medicare, or other personal information over the phone unless you initiate the call. If you call a company, they're probably going to need all that information, okay? It's perfectly legitimate. But if they call you, do not. And be skeptical of all unsolicited offers. Anything that you get, a phone call, in the mail, everything like this, if you're skeptical of everything, it's a lot easier to weed out what might be good. Protect your loved ones too, for the people that aren't here, that you deal with, that you talk to. watch out for all this stuff in them too. Unusual changes in a person's account, if you help them with those. Atypical withdrawals. There's generally no reason to go to the bank or take your credit card to the bank and take out $5,000 in cash, right? If you see something, that's like with the guy that got the lottery scam. I don't know why the bank let him do it without stopping him. If you can pay it with if you can take your credit card to a bank and take out $5,000 in cash, you can probably just pay it with your credit card generally, and then you're covered if it's a scam, right? If it's a fraudulent, then so watch for that type of stuff. If an ATM card or something all of a sudden pops out in somebody that you're keeping an eye on and there's a bunch of usage when it's not normal. Somebody suddenly appears confused, unkempt, or afraid. That means they're not getting taken care of, or they're real nervous about this stuff. That happens especially with like a lot of the IRS stuff, That's terrifying when you owe the IRS money and they say they're coming after you all of a sudden. That can cause physical changes in people. Utility, rent, mortgage, medical, or other essential bills aren't getting paid. When somebody has adequate income, that means the money's going somewhere else, right? If all of a sudden these things aren't getting paid, then where's that money going? Probably to somebody who's being scammed or a family member, someone's taking their money. If you guys have friends, family or whatnot, and all of a sudden they have a caregiver that says you don't need to come see them, or no, they're not available all of a sudden all the time, you can't get a hold of them, that's a sign that they're possibly being abused or scammed. They don't want anybody to have access to that person because they're afraid that they're going to tell on them. If you start getting a ton of these sweepstakes mailings, the magazine subscriptions, free gifts, they may be on what they call the sucker lists. And these are, again, things that they buy online and stuff, where they get these lists of people that have either fallen for a scam or are at risk of a scam. They call them sucker lists, okay, because that's where they have the best luck, getting people's money. If you are a victim of something, don't be afraid or embarrassed to talk about it, because it's never going to get better if you don't report it or if you don't talk about it. That's never going to, make it go away or make things change. The only way to stop it is to report it and start getting some help. Immediately call your bank or credit card company. Again, cancel any cards that are linked to that. Reset your PIN numbers, your personal identification numbers, and call and file a police report. All those things make sure and do if something happens to you. And then lastly, these are a lot of the numbers. There's police emergency. Karen Buchanan here at Friendship Manor. If you have questions on something that you think might be a scam, her number's there, you can call her. Alternatives for the Older Adult is an excellent place to contact. Said they have many different programs that help just seniors. That's all they're dedicated to, is helping the seniors. And if they have a senior that you're worried about that you don't think is getting taken care of, they're also connected to Adult Protective Services. It's almost like DCFS for seniors, where they can, if we find that somebody is in danger, they can go in and remove them from an environment, okay? So it's a great number to know, and again, they can help with just simple things like, hey, I'm having trouble getting out of the house, getting to doctor's appointments, I'm having trouble cleaning my house, things like that. The do not call list, and then the 3 numbers for your credit reporting agencies. And I'll leave a copy of this with these guys. I'll leave this copy of that so they can distribute that to you or get all these numbers for you. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Chuck and I have been married 25 years. Moved here 11 years ago. We did a change of address for the 2 of us. Both of our ex-spouses get mail at our house.
Still?
We cannot stop that because you have to give a social when you call in to say, we've tried saying these people are expired.
Yeah.
Thinking, that could stop their mail from coming.
Yeah.
They're buying a list from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they get these lists off internet and mailing lists. A lot of times when you sign up for stuff, online or whatnot, they'll tell you right on there, we reserve the right to sell your information to other agencies.
People should have never followed us, these other 2.
Yeah.
But we're getting them. Something more important though, and no one downtown knows how to help us. We've been told that any of us who have paid our houses off, we no longer have a mortgage company to be looking over our shoulders. You can come in and fill out some form, and my house, I'm in it, but you can hold a deed to it.
Oh, I'm,
Yeah, we need that to be looked at, and we need to know what to do to make sure because once you get word of it, we weren't gonna have a house to live in.
yeah, I'm not aware of that one.
Nobody, and this is out there, and it's been out for
Yeah.
a couple of years, but no one knows how to tell us what procedure to follow to protect.
Yeah, your deed, yeah, I don't know on that either. Fortunately, that's something I'll have to look up, because
Yeah.
I am not aware of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's happening in bigger cities, so it's only a
Sure.
matter of time. Chicago isn't that far from here.
Sure.
Twin Cities aren't far from here.
Yeah.
St. Louis isn't far.
Yeah.
It's gonna filter in.
Absolutely, and that's another thing. I mean, there's always a new scam.
Yes.
Always a new scam. As soon as they,
For most of us, that's
Yeah.
a big piece of our investment.
sure, certainly. Any other questions at all? All right. Thank you guys for having me.